Power is not shared equally. It never was. It never will be. Most people believe leadership comes from talent, effort, or morality. That belief is why they obey. The world does not reward who is right. It rewards who is positioned. While you focus on being fair, someone else is deciding outcomes. While you explain yourself, someone else is setting terms. Most people leak power through habits they never question. They talk too much, they react too fast, they chase approval, they assume loyalty where there is none. This is not accidental. This is how hierarchies are formed. Leaders are not born superior. They operate by rules others ignore or deny. Every environment has a structure. Every structure has a ranking. Every ranking is enforced, not announced. Those at the top understand this early. Those below keep believing effort will save them. Power does not care about intentions. It responds to behavior. It responds to restraint. It responds to control. Most people reveal their position without realizing it, through emotion, through urgency, through the need to be understood. This is where obedience begins. Not with force, but with self-exposure. In this video, you will see 10 ruthless truths that quietly decide who leads and who obeys. Not theories, not motivation, rules that govern real outcomes. These truths are not comfortable. They remove moral cover. They expose how power actually moves between people. You may recognize yourself in them. That discomfort is a signal, not a flaw. This knowledge is for protection, not destruction. But protection requires clarity, and clarity requires restraint. Most people avoid this level of honesty because it removes excuses, and excuses feel safer than responsibility. If you are still listening, understand this. Nothing here is accidental. Every dynamic you experience is structured. This is not about dominance for its own sake. It is about survival inside systems that reward clarity and punish confusion. Once you see these patterns, you cannot unsee them. What changes next depends entirely on how much responsibility you are willing to carry, without blaming anyone else for outcomes. Now, I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. I choose power over approval. Let me see who's really ready. Let's begin. Number 1. You weren't overlooked. You hesitated. And hesitation is invisible in hierarchies. People don't ignore your value. They respond to your position. And position isn't given. It's claimed. You're waiting for permission to act like authority. But those who lead never asked. They decided. They moved as if the crown was already theirs. In real hierarchies, movement signals status. Stillness signals submission. When you wait to be told, you've already lost power. They're not checking your worth. They're measuring your certainty. Authority isn't a trophy. It's a stance. It begins with how you stand, how you speak, how you enter a room. Most people behave like guests in their own lives. They sit quietly, hoping to be chosen. But power moves first. It does not apply. It announces. Not through volume, but presence. Not through requests, but assumptions. You keep thinking they need to see your potential. They don't. They see what you show. And if you show restraint, they assume you're not ready. If you move with composure and control, they obey the frame you build. The world responds to posture, not patience. People mirror the energy of the most certain person in the room. And most of the time, that's not the smartest person. It's the one who acts like they've already decided how this ends. When you stop waiting to be validated, you stop leaking uncertainty. When you speak without apology, you start controlling the tempo. When you hold your position, others rearrange around you. Example: 2 people walk into a meeting. One asks, "Where should I sit?" The other sits at the head of the table. Guess who they look at when the decision needs to be made? Power is not assigned, it's assumed. Number 2, the one who needs less always holds the stronger position. Because needing something makes you visible. And visibility gives others leverage. Need distorts perception. It turns strength into dependence. It turns silence into pressure. It turns presence into pursuit. When you need someone to agree, you over-accommodate. When you need validation, you speak too much. When you need peace, you concede too early. They can feel it. They can read it. And once it's seen, it's used. Control is not about dominance. It's about detachment. The ability to care less than they expected. The capacity to walk away without hesitation. People assume control is gained through action, but in real power dynamics, it's gained through absence. The absence of desperation. The absence of need. The absence of fear. You think being honest about your need builds trust, but it builds control for them, not you. Because once they know what you want, they know where to press. Power is quiet. It waits. It observes. It never pleads. It never explains. It speaks in terms, not hopes. When you don't need someone to like you, you don't flinch. When you don't need the win, your vision stays clear. When you don't need to be understood, your message sharpens. Restraint is not absence of emotion, it is discipline of expression. The more silent your need, the stronger your position. People lean toward those who lean away. They chase what isn't chasing. They respect what doesn't explain. Wanting connection is natural, but showing that you need it, that's how you lose frame. That's how you surrender control. Say less, need less, wait longer, decide faster. The person who can walk away always shapes the terms. They don't get more because they demand. They get more because they can disappear. Control is not taken. It is granted to the one who doesn't beg for it. Number 3, respect isn't built on kindness. It's built on consequence. Because people don't believe words. They believe outcomes. You think being calm earns you maturity points. You think letting things slide makes you look composed. But every unchecked violation lowers your value. Every time you tolerate disrespect, you train them to continue. People don't stop crossing lines out of guilt. They stop when it costs them something. Not emotional discomfort, but real access. Position. Opportunity. You don't need to argue for respect. You need to design what happens when it's broken. Power doesn't repeat itself. It shows you once. And that's enough. Explanations are weak currency in power games. Boundaries backed by consequence are the only language taken seriously. The more you talk, the less they listen. The more chances you give, the more they gamble. One silent exit is louder than 10 confrontations. One removed privilege hits harder than any warning. One ignored message teaches more than any monologue. You keep trying to educate them. You keep hoping they'll grow. But they're not confused. They're observant. They push because they see no edge. They test because you don't reinforce. Mature doesn't mean endlessly tolerant. It means you don't announce the storm. You just move, and the weather shifts. Respect doesn't ask, it frames, it selects, it filters. A person who respects you will adjust on their own. A person who won't until you make adjustment necessary. That's not aggression. That's structure. So the next time someone oversteps, don't react. Rearrange. Don't explain. Extract. Don't demand better behavior. Make it the price of entry. You're not asking for respect. You're building an environment where only those who offer it remain. The consequence is the message. Deliver it once. Then stay quiet. Number 4, silence isn't emptiness. It's a signal. And the ones who understand this never waste a word. You think explaining helps people see your side, but it helps them map your limits. They don't need the full story. They just need to see where you break. Every time you explain, you expose. Every time you justify, you shrink. Because the one who fills the silence first loses position. And the one who lets silence stretch controls the tempo. Power doesn't rush to respond. It waits. It watches. It listens until the room rearranges. Silence breeds discomfort. Discomfort creates adjustment. And adjustment is leverage without force. You don't need to reveal your emotions. You don't need to answer questions meant to disarm you. You don't owe explanations for decisions that are final. Most people fear being misunderstood. But power doesn't need to be understood. it needs to be felt. And silence is how it's delivered. Don't confuse stillness with passivity. Stillness is pressure applied without words. Stillness is how strategy breathes. When you speak less, every word becomes a choice. When you wait longer, they start reaching. When you remove the need to be heard, you become unreadable. Unreadable means unshaped. Unshaped means unowned. And the unowned set the terms. Silence doesn't mean absence of thought. It means presence of control. It means you speak when outcomes shift, not when emotions rise. Example, in negotiation, the first to speak after an offer loses ground. The one who lets silence stretch wins the frame. Speak only when the room shifts because of it. Otherwise, hold the line. You are not here to be understood. You are here to be impossible to move. Silence is not retreat, it's position. Number 5. Attention without control is a signal flare for challengers. When you're seen, but not grounded, you're marked. Visibility without leverage attracts pressure, not respect. Most people think being seen gives them power, but being seen too early gives others a target. You're showing movement without defense, intent without infrastructure, plans without insulation. When you speak about where you're going before you've secured it, you give them room to obstruct. You give them material to challenge. You give them timelines to disrupt. Not everyone listening wants you to win. Some are competitors. Some are critics. Some are quiet saboteurs. That's why control starts with silence. You control exposure by managing timing. Speak only when momentum is irreversible. Declare only when denial becomes irrelevant. They can't ruin what they can't reach. They can't prepare resistance if they don't know your path. They can't undermine what's already done. Visibility must follow structure, not lead it. If you're speaking for approval, you're leaking power. If you're sharing to be admired, you're surrendering edge. Because the need to be seen is a form of exposure. And exposure before control equals vulnerability. Real operators don't advertise potential. They reveal results. They don't build in public. They build behind silence, then appear with position already locked. Control means directing perception. You choose what's visible, you shape what they interpret, and you leave no gaps for interference. Example, you announce a goal to build something new. People weigh in, doubt it, undermine it, distract you. But if you build it quietly, then present the outcome, resistance arrives too late. They're forced to respond to fact, not opinion. Silence protects movement. Delay shields strategy. Timing determines who leads the conversation. So speak less until your next step is unchangeable. Hold your image until it cannot be reshaped. Let your visibility arrive only after your position is no longer negotiable. Attention is never free. It costs you leverage if claimed too soon. Number 6. Being right has never stopped someone from being removed. Because power doesn't respond to morality, it responds to structure. You believe truth protects you. You believe fairness guarantees your position. But fairness only exists when someone has the strength to enforce it. And most of the time, that's not you. People confuse ethics with leverage. But leverage doesn't care what's right. It cares what's reinforced. It bends toward what's backed, not what's deserved. You did everything right. You waited. You followed the rules. You helped. You assumed the system would recognize it. But the system isn't moral. It's opportunistic. Power doesn't override you because you're wrong. It overrides you because you're out of position. You lacked insulation. You lacked threat. You lacked consequence. In real competition, kindness is treated as optional. Position is not. If you don't control access, someone else will. If you don't signal consequence, someone else will be louder. This isn't a call to abandon values. It's a demand to separate values from tactics. You can be ethical internally and ruthless structurally. You can move clean and still carry edge. Don't confuse internal clarity with external protection. The game isn't played in your head. It's played in environments ruled by pressure and perception. Power isn't earned by virtue, it's held by presence. And presence requires you to act like protection isn't coming. Because it isn't. If you want to maintain your ethics, protect them with structure. If you want to stay kind, build boundaries so you're not drained. If you want to stay generous, build filters so you aren't used. You don't need to attack, but you do need to fortify. Because without a wall, even a monastery gets raided. Example: 2 people disagree. One says, "This is unfair." The other says, "Try that again and I'll shut your access." Guess who gets challenged again? Morality is internal code. Power is external structure. One guides your decisions, the other protects them. So stop assuming truth wins. Make sure your truth is insulated by consequences. Because power doesn't ask who's right, it asks who controls the frame. Number 7, the first to react is the first to lose frame. Because reaction is exposure. And exposure gives them the map. They don't need to overpower you, they just need to provoke you. Your reaction draws the blueprint. It shows what bothers you, what shakes you, what you're trying to protect. Emotion reveals pressure points, and in power games, pressure points become targets. You think expressing yourself proves strength, but expression without control signals vulnerability, especially when it's urgent, especially when it's loud, especially when it comes too fast. If they can agitate you, they can direct you. If they can predict your emotional pattern, they don't need strategy. They'll just trigger you into one. You lose rank not when you feel, but when you bleed signal. And feelings, when visible, become leverage in the wrong hands. Treat emotion like classified data. Not denied, just encrypted. Protected behind stillness. Delayed by discipline. Pause before responding. Lower your volume. Slow your words. Don't match intensity. Invert it. Speak only in terms of boundaries and outcomes. Remove justification. Remove validation seeking. Remove narrative building. You don't need them to understand how you feel. You need them to respect your line. And lines aren't defended by explanation. They're enforced through tone. The higher your emotional control, the less readable you are. And unreadable people control interpretation. They define the mood of the room without raising their voice. People fear what they can't provoke. They respect what won't explain itself. And they follow the one who holds stillness under pressure. Example: 2 people are insulted. One defends themselves emotionally. The other responds calmly with, "This won't happen again." Only one keeps control of the frame. You don't rise in rank by demanding it. You rise by revealing nothing under pressure. Emotional silence isn't weakness, it's insulation. Number 8, loyalty doesn't live in memory. It lives in momentum. And when your position weakens, memory evaporates. People don't follow history, they follow strength. They align with what looks unshakable, not what once was helpful. You gave, you supported, you stood by them when it cost you. And now you expect that to come back around. But loyalty isn't a receipt, it's a response to current position. In power dynamics, memory fades fast. People adapt to power shifts instantly. If your status drops, so does their allegiance. They'll say things changed. They'll say they had to evolve. But the truth is, they recalculated. They sensed a decline, and they moved. This isn't betrayal, it's gravity. And gravity pulls toward structure. You're not being abandoned because they forgot. You're being abandoned because you stopped reinforcing the frame. Because you relied on gratitude instead of pressure. On connection instead of command. Respect doesn't preserve loyalty. Power does. Position does. Perception does. The one who holds authority today replaces the one who helped yesterday. Because in uncertain environments, people don't want memory, they want safety. So stop expecting return on old favors. Start building a position that makes loyalty the obvious choice. When you look untouchable, people stay close. When you look uncertain, they create distance. Not because they hate you, but because uncertainty spreads like infection. And no one wants to catch decline. Maintain posture even when the ground shakes. Speak with certainty even when you're recalibrating. Signal control even in silence, because loyalty is magnetic, but only to power. It isn't personal, it's structural. Example, a leader who loses composure doesn't just lose trust, they lose alignment, because people mirror what feels permanent, and the moment you don't, they move. So update your strategy. Your past effort deserves respect, but respect doesn't enforce allegiance. Position does. Number 9, access is a currency, and the easier it is to obtain, the faster it loses value. When you're always reachable, you become routine. When you're always present, you become background noise. And when you're always available, they forget you're a choice, not an obligation. People claim to want more access, but what they really respect is controlled access, because limits signal importance. Distance creates gravity. You think availability builds connection, but connection without boundary is erosion. They won't value what they can interrupt. They won't respect what never pauses. When access is unlimited, urgency becomes casual. They text without purpose. They call without context. They expect response without reason. And each time you reply instantly, they adjust expectations downward. You aren't building loyalty, you're diluting your presence. And diluted presence is forgettable. Powerful people don't hide. They structure access. They filter noise. They create intentional friction. Because if you don't control when you appear, you lose control of how you're perceived. Availability should be earned, not assumed. And if everyone gets access, no one values it. You don't need to vanish. You need to design your presence. Scarcity is not about being absent, it's about being selective. People move around what they can't freely access. They prepare for those who don't appear on demand. They measure their words for those who respond with restraint. Example, 2 leaders in the same organization. One replies instantly to every message. The other responds twice a week, with precision. Guess which one commands more focus when they speak? It's not rudeness, it's framing. And framing sets the tone for interaction. You can be warm and still be filtered. You can care and still require access to be earned. You can be available without being automatic. Control who reaches you. Control how often. Control on what terms. Because access, once given freely, is impossible to retract without friction. Don't teach people that your time is cheap. Don't reward interruption with attention. Don't let urgency override intention. You are not here to be available. You are here to be valuable. Number 10. Most people don't fear leadership. They fear the discomfort that comes with it. Because authority isn't a reward, it's a burden. You think command is given to the strongest, but it's usually taken by the one who can stay calm under tension. The one who doesn't flinch when things get cold. The one who doesn't soften when others need clarity. Comfort makes people hesitate. It makes them seek harmony over truth. It makes them ask permission instead of making decisions. And slowly, without knowing, they begin choosing peace over power, agreement over action, approval over accuracy, until one day they look strong but move like followers. Leadership demands you step past the threshold others fear. It doesn't feel good. It's not about being liked. It's not about being understood. It's about holding the frame when everyone else needs comfort. People don't follow strength because it's loud. They follow it because it doesn't move under pressure. Because it doesn't explain itself when challenged. Because it doesn't ask for support before making a call. You can't lead while chasing comfort. You can't rise while managing people's reactions. You can't hold command if you need to be liked by everyone in the room. Example. 2 people walk into conflict. One tries to smooth the tension, avoid offense, keep everyone happy. The other stands still, speaks clearly, holds tension like it's oxygen. Guess who leaves the room with control? Authority begins where comfort ends. It begins where most people tap out. It begins when you stop needing relief and start needing structure. Your position will be tested. You will be misunderstood. You will be challenged. And the moment you chase emotional comfort, you surrender control. You don't have to be cruel. You have to be immovable. Leadership is not about always knowing what to say. It's about saying what others avoid and holding the silence afterward. It's not about ease. It's about friction and your ability to live in it without folding. This is the point of no return. You either remain agreeable or you become unreadable, but not both. You've seen how power really works. It doesn't care how pure your intentions are. It only responds to posture, presence, and position. The world won't reward you for being right. It will respond to how immovable you are when pressure hits. It will measure how far you've detached from the need to explain. Most people confuse discomfort with danger. They feel friction and think they're failing. But discomfort is separation. It's the signal that you're no longer playing the obedience game. Every move you make from this point forward reshapes your environment. When you operate with this awareness, the world adjusts, not immediately, but permanently. Some people won't know how to respond to your silence. Others will push harder, hoping to pull you back into your old frame. That's how you know the access rules have changed. Once you carry yourself this way, you won't be received the same. And that's not a problem. That's the point. You don't get to hold comfort and command at the same time. Comfort maintains your previous identity. Command requires you to let that version die. You will lose some peace. You will lose some approval. But what you gain is structure. You gain clarity. You gain control of the terms. You no longer ask for understanding. You define boundaries. You no longer offer constant access. You become rare. You no longer react to pressure. You watch it fold. Authority begins when you stop asking. Not when you're ready, not when it's fair, not when others finally agree. It begins the moment you move without their permission. So just make one move today. Withhold one reaction or one explanation. Let the silence sit. Let someone feel your absence. Don't explain it. Don't soften it. Just let it exist. If this entire video aligned with how you see power now, you already know what to do. Subscribe, comment this, I've stepped out of the frame. Which truth exposed the game? And remember, you don't need to justify this shift. You just need to enforce it. Now go prove it.